hit that like and subscribe button. And we always love feedback, so leave a comment. Now, back to your regular scheduled program.
What?
Yo, what's going on, guys? It's hot news or not news. It's a segment where we go over some of the latest topics in the world of sports, and we decide if it's hot news, we're going to stop and talk about it, and if it's not news, we're going to try to explain why and keep it pushing. We're going to jump right into today's topics. I'm starting off with Georgia winning the national championship over Alabama. I think that this is crazy hot news. Anytime that Nick Saban's knocked off his pedestal, underdog comes in to win. The way that Georgia's been turned around by Kirby Smart, I think is amazing of a turnaround. They've had one of the best defenses in all of college football, and it showed up in that game on Monday night. It was ridiculous to see how they handled Bryce Young, the Heisman Trophy winner. I mean, Alabama did have some unfortunate injuries that I think changed some of the dynamics of the game, but good. That was a great win for Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs. It's definitely a big thing when somebody else wins the national championship, because I feel like it helps with the deconsolidation of talent in certain places. The more Alabama wins, the more five-star recruits are going to trust the process, sit behind, and just stay there until they can't stay there no more, or get a chance they can play. You love to see somebody else winning, especially the underdogs. Man, it's wild to see. Next, I definitely want to talk about the GM of the Indianapolis Colts, Chris Ballard, who said himself that he was not feeling like that he should commit to anything or talk about any player at this point right now after the season, which I feel like it is internally is a shot at Carson Wentz. In the same interview, he also said, and I quote, "I'd like to quit band-aiding it. I'd like for Carson to be the long-term answer and find somebody who would be here for the next 10 to 12 years. Sometimes it doesn't work out that way. I can dream about it, wish about it, do everything I can to figure out the solution, but you do the best with what you can do at the time." Which I feel like he's completely frustrated. This is hilariously hot news. Like, oh my God, to see the turmoil in his statements about the long-term solution of the quarterback position and the franchise. They gave up what ended up being a first-round pick for Carson Wentz, and I don't think that they have a first-round pick in return in Carson Wentz. He definitely is furious about that situation. You can that's the most politest way I think that you can say that it's either Carson or we're gonna find somebody else. There's a couple people in the draft I'm thinking that he's alluding to that he might want to take a lot of looks at. That know they do have Carson still on the books for next year, but I think it's a cheaper deal though, so you can afford to keep him and groom somebody else for the next 10 to 12 years is what I'm thinking he's alluding to. But that's only if Carson's not the guy. He's really young. He could play for the next 10 years, essentially seeing how quarterbacks are playing into their late 30s at this point in time now. But I just don't see any confidence in that statement, which says a whole lot about the state of that franchise. They were going into last season being quote unquote a good quarterback away from getting over the hump, and I think they're still at that state at that point. So shout out. All right, the next topic I definitely want to jump right into is one Novak Djokovic, the tennis player, is set to be deported from Australia. He's not allowed to play in the Australian Open. Do I think that this is news? At this point in the story, it definitely is not news. But for him to be one of the top players in the sport and not allowed because of the regulations of that sport, of the country that is playing in, I feel like it's not really news. Like it's a global pandemic, and they're one of the countries that actually took it completely serious and have not had as much outbreak and death as like the rest of the world at this point. So for them to have to stick to their guns, knowing that Djokovic has lied about COVID in the past, and it just doesn't, like, I just think that is not news at this point because he's not taking it serious. He's been in contact with people after knowing, and then lying about it and after facts. So I mean, it's just a safety precaution for that country, and what he's already done was his decisions beforehand, and that's just I think the repercussions of his actions. So I think that is definitely not news for just that aspect of it. All right, my last topic for the day. I want to talk about Cam Reddish being traded to the New York Knicks for Kevin Knox and a first-round pick. Do I think that this is news? I think it's huge news for the New York Knicks to get somebody who can score going right. Oh, it's ridiculous. Like for them to get an upgrade for Kevin Knox, who they have not trusted and not played all year, I think is going to be great for the New York Knicks to get a young player, somebody like Cam Reddish, who's going to play again with RJ Barrett. I mean, I think that those two are going to help out the chemistry, like them playing together. I think that him and his getting a bucket ability is going to definitely help out and be on display more in MSG. So I think that this is a great move for them. I feel like it's also a good move for Atlanta as well, because they have too many mouths to feed offensively. I mean, Trey's got to is going to keep the ball in his hands, and like he's going to take a lot of floaters, a lot of passes. I mean, he's going to get a lot of lobs to Collins and Clint Capella, but then you still have Gallinari and Bogdanovich and Hunter. I mean, it's just a lot of mouths to feed down there. So I mean, Kevin Knox is a good defensive player. Hopefully they can groom him up like they have been grooming some of their talent down there defensively, and helping him keep his confidence on his 3-point shot so that he can provide some good depth for them. Also, they got a first-round pick too, so you never know what's going to happen from that. So I think that is definitely some really good news. I think it's definitely news for both teams. If you're a fan of either one of these sides, it helps out. I think it's going to help out a lot going forward. It does clear up some space for the Atlanta. It does give the Knicks another scoring option other than Randall and RJ Barrett. So, I mean, it's all around a great time for them. All right, guys, that's hot news and not news. When I come back, we'll go over my final thoughts.
Brought to you by the Chism channel at TCC Production.